Many days came and went. Days and nights balanced with work and play, and the accounts of these times rest in the journals of Peter and Angelina, in their chronicles of love and hope, some pages of which they carried to read to each other later on this day. After work, having put in a full hard day, Peter met Angelina in the half-light dusk of the dwindling year, and they sought out the Hudson River on an unusually warm November day, walking down toward the water through a vineyard. A few grapes missed by the harvest, yet clung to the vines, still ripe enough not to taste sour. So they picked them and fed each other. Her pet crow had already found them and was pecking at the grapes. As they sat on the rocks at the river shore, they saw the sun in the water at their feet. It was as a fire floating on the water, and was almost too bright to look at, for it shimmered. The river was really flat, at no tide, and the reflected clouds in the water were as an impressionist painting. Off in the distance they could see the Kingston-Rhinecliff Bridge. The Catskills were clear too. The diamonds in the river crept toward them as the sun passed its zenith and began its glide down the zodiacal arc. The floating fire on the water now shone directly into their eyes. "Imagine," she said, "fire exists in water. Who says they can't mix?" "Yes," I answered. "Water is supposed to conquer fire. Your sweet water always puts my fire out." "True," she replied, "but afterwards you rekindled the flame." An old propeller plane flew by from the Rhinebeck aerodrome in a sky already laced with vapor trails in the high, cold air. They looked up and watched it pass. "Looks like World War II is starting up again," he noted. "We're on the same side," she affirmed. "An American boy and a French-Italian girl hiding out in the countryside near Paris." "I know," Peter said. "I've come to the country of love." Laying on the ground, they were still looking up at the vapor trails. "See that line across the south?" he asked. "That's the Tropic of Cancer." Angelina just smiled and said, "Come to me, honey." "You're the honey," he said, "and I'm the bee." Making love, they grew intense, and he picked her head up, holding it and pressing her kissing lips even closer onto his. Then he lifted her upper body as well and brought her onto him all the more. Around them were the dried weed flowers of autumn and some bare stalks of corn. Up the hillside they could see the grapeless vines stretching for acres and acres. The air was filled with the scent of smoke from a pile of burning leaves. With a mock French accent, Peter said, "Angelina, this is America." "You're deep in France right now," she answered. He closed his eyes, and yes, he was surely in France, but also in the French countryside. There, he could see the fields of grain in her native land waving with the soft breezes. There he could see the ravages of her homeland caused by 2 world wars, the reason her parents had to leave. Peter opened his eyes again and saw the glory of the American countryside reflected in her eyes. Stability was here, in them. The sun set behind the mountains as each ring of floating fire in the water was snapped one by one. Like the night snuggling the day, the partners merged in the magic of twilight. Breathing deep, they took into their senses all that life could give. They held each other trustingly, knowingly, peacefully. "I wrote a romantic story," Peter said later, pulling out some folded sheets of paper. "It's about us, about our cottage that we've fixed up, about a recent time when I came to visit at night." "Let's hear it." "The cottage in the woods, La Maison au Bois." As I walked along the streamside path, the memories of the wrenching workday were worn away by the soothing sounds of the water lapping on the rocks. Cares floated away on the outgoing tide, replaced by the sun sparkles on the water, which alighted on my mind, still glimmering, and danced as they became my imagination's hopeful ideas about the night to come. It was about a mile to the cottage, and I almost started to run, but it was getting dark and cold and slippery. As I walked, I thought of Thoreau's words on life: simplify, simplify, simplify. Winter twilight came and ended just as quickly, and the planets of Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars hung like Christmas ornaments on the tree branches. Through the wider gaps between the trees, I could see the Milky Way and Orion's belt, those sights assuring me that I was going in the right direction. I felt good already, because I knew that these woods belonged me whenever I walked through them. I felt for the key in my pocket to make sure I had it. By giving me a key, Angelina had showed a lot of trust in our love, and by accepting the key, I had showed her the same. "Please don't knock," she had always said. "Use your key and just enter." As I walked, I breathed in deeply and thought of her warmth and love. Upon breathing out, I thought to expel all that was destructive in this hectic and hurried world. Soon I was able to imagine the taking of her breath into my lungs and the breathing of mine back into hers. And it was through this trance that I quickly arrived at the cottage, without really noticing the passage of time. I stopped outside, went to the cellar, and selected a bottle labeled Du Vin Français. There was no electricity in the cottage, of course, just candles, as I noted the love light in the window. This farmhouse cottage is our retreat. It is our inner sanctum, our love temple, our trysting spot, our heaven and haven. I stood back from the door until I was sure I had the right key, for I didn't want to fumble around at the door in the dark. As I opened the door, her puppy and kittens greeted me, and I let them out as usual. The room flickered in the candlelight, and I knew that my eyes would soon get used to the dark. Meanwhile, I pretended I was blind and walked the way that my feet knew. I put another log on the fire, then drew closer to the flames, warming myself. A recurring thought returned that said that fire was winter's only fruit, that peace and quiet and rest were her bounty. It's more than enough, I thought, more than enough. I poured 2 glasses of wine and set them out on the table, leaving the bottle uncorked so the wine could breathe and develop. Then I passed through the kitchen and smelled the duck warming in the wood stove. As I parted the beaded curtains of the bedroom doorway, I saw her lying there through the canopy's colored veils. She was resting from her day and was half awake and half asleep. It was in this dream world state that she often wanted to greet me. I removed my shoes and clothes and lifted the covers and snuggled into bed beside her. We never spoke any words upon this type of meeting. We just kissed, and sometimes neither of us would break off the kiss. The kisses would go on, endlessly, not quenching the thirst but only deepening. I snuggled against her and she pulled my arm and hand across her body. Soon we were in the flanquette position that we usually ended our lovemaking with, side by side, she on her back, me on my left side, my right leg between hers, our lips kissing, my left hand massaging her nape and hair, my right hand very slowly securing her breasts. As we held each other, I could sense that the world was fading, that the outside world no longer existed, that the physical boundaries between us were being dissolved by our love, that we were merging into one being, traveling into a dimension beyond time, that we were arriving at the innermost sanctum of our joined selves. Still no words were spoken. I saw and felt the glow of the headboard candle as it bathed our bodies in the flickering light. Now and then I would reach up and tip the wax to brighten the candle. She was dressed in my favorite colors of red and black. Her scent was Angel of Midnight. The burning incense suggested memories of ancient times. She was Cleopatra, I was Anthony, I was her sultan. She was my sultana, I was Napoleon, she was Josephine. Still no words had been spoken. I was the Tsar, she was the Tsaress, she was Shaktu, and I was Shiva. She was the passion flower, and I was the bee. She was the butterfly, and I was the wind. She opened her eyes and spoke at last. "Bonjour, monsieur." "Je t'aime," I replied. "Avez-vous le temps de rester un moment?" she inquired. "Oui, oui, mademoiselle," I answered. "69?" she asked. "Oui, oui, une amie tous les soirs," I exclaimed. "Je m'appelle Angelina," she whispered softly. "Magnifique, Peter. I'll write a response tonight and read it to you tomorrow." The workday passed quickly, and Peter, ignoring the recent hubbub at work concerning Six Sigma, team partnership, ranking, market-driven quality, and such other nonsense that was the fad of the moment, found himself again in the cottage with Angelina, she reading her response to him as the snow outside began falling steadily. old autumn apparently having passed away.
I write this story as an artist because a story like this should be told so that other women can find a love so pure. Our romance is like that of all of the greatest loves of the world. We all need the holding, the loving, and the peacefulness of life that love can bring. As I waited for Peter in my cottage, I slept in my bed. After a while, I thought that I heard his key in my door, but I didn't let myself become fully awake. Before he came into my boudoir, I imagined what it would be like to be close to him. We had been apart for just a short time, but it seemed like forever. La éternité. As he came through the doorway to my bedroom, my heart began to beat so heavily that I thought he would hear it. I was so patient as he disrobed and sat on my bed. Then he lit our candle, Il fait noir. He came towards me closer and closer, and I could feel that we'd missed each other a lot. I could feel my body wanting to entwine with his. Oh, how I love him as he loves me. All I could think of was how close ourselves could be. We would join together to make one out of two, merging in heart, mind, soul, and body. Je avoir la passion de faire de cœur. He laid with me and held me so close. I could feel that he wanted to make love to me, and my body felt electric shocks as he held me. He kissed me very tenderly and held me firmly. He put on some soft music. These intimate moments were like ocean waves on a sandy beach, each wave coming in and drawing out over the sand, pulling us closer and closer. This man in my life knows what I feel and all that I desire. I know how to give him pleasures, and I love the feel of him on the lower part of my body. Un baiser, effleuré. This relationship is so full of love. We eat together with friends so we can still be a part of the world. We write and read and talk about anything and everything. We learn wonderful things each day. We can still do all of the things we did before we met. Toujours. The tide comes in again to the sand on the beach. As the water recedes and leaves the sand, I feel so peaceful and relaxed. When we're together, I can feel pleasure like currents of water swirling round and round in my body. It has a center like that of a waterfall. The water gushes over the top of a cliff and sweeps me away. Le petit mort. Anywhere he kisses me starts my energy flowing. Then I kiss him back and he kisses me again. And before I know it, it's fireworks and Bastille Day all over again. Le feu. I love it when he holds my hair as he comes into my body. I do the same to him. When we're kissing and he lifts or moves his head, I go right with him. I give him the energy and power to stay in me for hours. We rock and ride our boat, feeling the motion of the ocean. Of course, none of the above would be possible or meaningful if it were not for the love that is the foundation of our relationship. There can be no icing without the cake. It wouldn't be filling. What is love? The French tell it all when they speak of love. Our love is a feeling of completeness. We are each inside each other's hearts and bodies. Energy builds and builds and builds. Our minds understand each other. Our souls are as one. We build no cages. Love is set as free as the butterfly. It alights where it pleases. When you give of yourself, you truly give. Sans cesse. He is like no other man in my life. I love making dinner for him. I love buying presents for him. He wants to give all he has to me, and I want to do the same for him. Neither of us wishes to take. We only want to give to the other. We give each other the pleasure of our unconditional love. It is the greatest gift. Merci bien. Now I will speak to my man directly. I am now a woman who knows of love. Your kisses are like no other. They are like the dew of morning. I am as a flower met by a bee to make honey. Our life is a garden of delight, joie de vivre. When you're close to me, my body feels energy and it shakes from the electric shocks that vibrate from head to toe. The warmth and tenderness of your holding has so much feeling that I want to just melt away like the wax of a candle and then passionately dissolve into you. When I am alone and reading my love book, I feel as though you are still inside me, and I feel all of my emotions and think of my love for you. I am writing to you because I feel so much peace when I say I love you. Je t'aime. When you kiss me in bed, I feel heat and passion such that I want to give you my unconditional love as you give me yours. I want to give you me. That's how I feel each and every time we are together. The wine we drink from each other's mouths is so wet to my lips. I never demand anything because everything between us is so natural. There are no shells of eggs for us to walk on. All is of a piece. When you touch my hair and my breasts, I feel as if I'm being overtaken by magic. When I give you my love on your body, I'm giving you my heart and soul and the complete joy of my love. Tout of fate. When you kiss me down on my body, I feel an energy and a melody that says I want you there. My body plays music to the beat of my loving heart. I want even more of whatever it is that you give to me that makes me crazy for you. Whenever we embrace, my body feels your love's giving. I want to feel you inside me because my feeling is that I have a man who loves me for me and who gives me his love and his body unconditionally. La flamme. When you come into me, I feel so warm that love covers my body with a feeling that makes me cry out with all of the energy that I have. I desire you. I want you. Your love has healed me in every way. My love for you is so real that I can live my life to the fullest in all areas to the best of my ability. This is love's power. Bi coup amour. I am your love slave. I am the woman of the French lieutenant. You are intensely gentle and gently intense when you make love to me. You speak to me as a poet with words that make music to my ears. Romance in books seems unreal, but our romance is surreal and is from heaven. The kisses you give me drive me wild. When you hold me close, I feel like a teenager in love. My pen can write about all our wonderful picnics and lovely lunches that we have gone to. The more I give of myself to you, the more you give of yourself to me. My pen has written much and will write more next time. Po a po. Je t'aime, Angelina.